Alright, there we go. It says 6 out of 5 backups filled, full backups, deleting oldest. So we have a successful rolling backup system, fully automated. Hey, what's up you guys, it's Jamie, and in this video we're going to be looking at setting up automatic Firestore backups at some interval, like once every day at 2 p.m. That's our ultimate goal, and this will require no action on our part after it's all set up. And also a warning for you guys, this video is kind of more advanced. I'm going to be using a lot of commands in here, which many of you may not be familiar with. If you are, that's great, but for those of you who aren't, just let me know in the comments below so that I can kind of gauge how familiar you guys are with. We're going to be using a lot of Linux commands. And so with that said, you guys enjoy the content, enjoy the video, and let's get into it. Alright, so this video has two parts. The first part is we're going to just get it so that we can just run a command on the terminal and then manually do a backup. Alright, and then the second part is we're going to set up automatic backups on a Linux system. So the reason why I put it on a Linux system is because it has something called crontab, and crontab is just a way of performing an automated task at some interval, like once a day at 2 p.m. or something like that. So that's how I'm going to do it. If you're on a Windows system, it doesn't have crontab on it. And so what I would recommend doing is, you see here how I have this Jamie at Jamie-slave. Well, Jamie-slave, that is a computer I have, like a separate Linux computer. And what I recommend using for you guys out there is like some sort of, maybe like a Raspberry Pi, or like maybe like an Amazon EC2 instance, or like a Google, like some sort of computer that has Linux on it. Alright, and if you want a separate video on like maybe how to set up a Raspberry Pi or something like that, then I can do that for you guys. But for now, I'm just going to assume that at the very least you have a Linux terminal where you can run commands like ls and pwd. Alright, but if you don't have that, then if you're on Windows, be sure to check out my video on building in Ionic. The first part of that has a great section on installing npm and getting that working with the terminal. But assuming you can run commands like that, what we're going to do is we're first going to do the manual backup. So the first thing that we got to do is, when you're in your terminal, your Linux terminal, make sure that you can again run commands like ls and pwd. Alright, and then make sure you go to a directory where you would like to hold the backups. So for me, I made a folder here in home/YouTube/automatic Firestore backups. Alright, and then if you don't know how to make a folder like that, you just type in mkdir and then the name of the folder, and that will just make a folder wherever you're at. So I could make a new folder in this folder called like test, and then if I press or type ls, that'll show me that test exists right here. Alright, and I don't really want to get too much into like all the teaching you how to use the Linux terminal, but I'm just kind of showing you how you would make a directory, and then you could cd into that directory. So you would change directory into that directory with test. Okay, so now I'm in there. ls lists everything in it. It's empty, so it printed nothing. cd .dat will go to the previous directory. Alright, so we're not going to get too much into that, but for now I'm just going to assume that you're inside of a folder where you want to create the automatic backup system. Alright, and for me that's called automatic Firestore backups. Okay, and the next thing that we're going to need to do is go to the firestore backup-restore npm package. Okay, so I'll just leave a link to this in the description below, but we're going to need this. So it says to install it globally, and we are going to need to do that. So the way we do that is we run this command right here, npm install -g firestore-backup-restore. Alright, I already have it installed, so I'm not going to run that. Oh, and by the way, if when you were installing the package it said something like permission denied, or like not access denied or something like that, then what you want to do is you want to rerun the command with sudo. And so basically, if it gave you a permission error, you just want to retry with sudo. Try and do it without sudo though. Try and use sudo as little as possible. and sudo will ask you for your password. It stands for super user do. Next step is we need to retrieve the Google Cloud account credentials. So it says from the Firebase console, we go to my project. So I'm just going to go to the Firebase console and use one of my example projects. Maybe I'll do the one from the live stream I did the other day, the grocery list app. So it says to go there. All right. And then we go to project settings and then service accounts. So project settings and then service accounts. Okay, and then it was telling us to generate new private key. So I'm going to do that. Generate new private key. All right, and this is a very sensitive file. You don't want to give this out. So be very careful. Don't add this to Git. Don't add this to anywhere. Just manually put it wherever you need it, but don't allow anyone else who isn't supposed to have access to your server get access to that key, because that key contains the permissions for your entire project. So treat that very specially. All right, so it says I generated it, and it just downloaded that as a file right here. So I have this file right here, and what I need to do is I need to bring this over to my Linux server over here. So what I'm going to do is in a new tab, new terminal tab, I'm going to go into my downloads folder, and then I'm going to secure copy that file over to my server. So SCP, then grocery list. So that's the file, and then the location of my server is well, it's first the user, so Jamie at Jamie-slave. And again, if you don't have your own server and you're on like a Mac or Linux computer, you can just use your own computer and you can just move this file directly into that folder wherever it is. And kind of stuff like this, like SCP, I'm not really going to fully explain all this stuff because it would take like an hour to explain all the stuff that I'm doing in this video. If you want a full video on like setting up your own Linux server with like a Raspberry Pi, like I was saying, just leave a comment down below, and then I'll look at doing that in the future. But for now, just realize I'm just copying a file from my downloads folder into my server, my Jamie-slave. It's a separate computer from my Mac here, and then I want it to go into this folder right here. So I'm going to copy that path and then place it right there. So this should copy that file over into that folder. All right, so run that, type in my password, and then it says it copied it over. Great. So if I run ls here back on the server, then I can see I have that file, and that's just great. What I'm going to do is I like to organize it into a folder, so I'm going to make a directory here, make dir called keys, and I'm going to move that grocery list key into the keys folder. All right, and then I'm also going to remove the test directory because that's not needed for anything. So now I simply just have a keys folder right here. All right, and then I'm also going to add a gitignore file right here. So vi.gitignore, and in here I'm just going to add in keys /, and that's just to make sure that in case this folder gets added to source control, it's not sent to source control, because you don't want it to be added to Git because it's a very sensitive file. All right, so the way that we actually perform the backup is like this. We type in firestore-backup-restore and then -a and then the location of that key, and then -B and then the name of the backup, which like the name of the folder for the backup. So that's how we would do it, but just to make sure that we installed Firestore Backup Restore correctly, I'm just going to type in Firestore Backup Restore and then just press enter, and then yeah, it looks like it's giving us the usage here, so it is installed correctly. If that gives you an error, then just make sure that you installed it correctly like this, npm install -g like that, like we did at the beginning of the video. And then Like I was saying, the -a, that's referring to the account credentials. So for us, that is going to be /keys/ and then the name of that grocery list file. And then we can do -b and then the name of the backup. I'm going to call it my-backup. Okay, so that's kind of wrapping onto the next line, but that just says my backup. Alright, and then that should actually just perform the backup. So let's see if it does just that. Alright, blah blah blah. Backing up collection. Okay, so it looks like it worked. I know it's giving out a bunch of errors and stuff right here. Just don't mind that stuff. Doesn't matter at all. So now we have a folder here called My Backup, and if we cd into My Backup and ls, you can see we have a users folder right here. So I'm going to show you back in Firebase the data. So we've got users in here, and we've got items. So like this is just the collection in Firestore. Like this is all the data. So we have /users and then the users and then their items. It's a grocery list. If you want to see the full video I did on the live stream, I'll just leave an annotation up there. Alright, so I'm just here in the My Backup directory, and I tried going ls users, and it showed no results. So I got a little bit worried. I think there's actually a bug in both of the Firestore backup as well as firestore-backup-restore packages. Looks like both of them, I tested both of them just to make sure. If the document does not exist, but it has sub-collections, then it actually won't even recognize the sub-collections. So I've never encountered that before because I've never made such a simple app as this grocery list app. So I'm going to try adding a document here. Just for testing data. Just going to add another one over here, B and B. Because normally you have like user data here at the user level, like they're like saving their username, their email, just kind of stuff you want quick access to. Maybe like the number of grocery items they have, something like that. Now let's try it with the document. And so I'm gonna go back and then rerun this command right here to generate the backup once again. So I'm not sure if it will override that file or not. Looks like it does. So yeah, now it looks like it went inside of all of those users and then backed up their items. So now if I type ls and then my backup and then users, it lists out all those users, so we can see that each one of those users has an items collection in it now, and then those are all the item IDs. So these are all just the IDs of the objects, like right here. So the backup did work that time. So that's a caveat which I just found, which is your documents must exist when there are sub collections here. Okay, so you can't have sub collections and not a document here, otherwise it's not going to back it up. Alright, kind of sucks, but I just discovered that. Maybe I'll report a bug after this. Alright, so we successfully got a backup working. Alright, we did it using this command right here. But now let's go into the second section of the video, which is automating the backup. Which, wouldn't that be nice if you didn't have to keep running this every time you wanted to back up your database? And wouldn't it be extra nice if there was like a rolling backup system, like let's say you just wanted it to keep 5 backups, and then like as soon as it made a new backup, it just deleted like the 5th oldest backup, and so it was just kind of like a rolling loop of making new backups and then deleting the old ones. Well, I've actually made a little script to do that for you guys. Alright, and that file I was just referring to is going to be in the resources section of my website, so it's jamiebot.com/resources. And then here, so I just barely made this as a part of my site. And so if you click on this automatic Firestore backups button, then that'll just go to a page where it'll show you the download link for the file I'm mentioning. And so once you do that, you'll have the link for the file, so just copy that, and then we'll continue on here. And so with that link in hand, back on my server, I'm going to type in wget and then the name of that URL. So paste it in right here. All right, so just paste that right there. All right, and once that's complete, you should have a file here called backup.py. All right, and that's the file that you downloaded just barely using wget. All right, and then if we have a look inside of there, we're going to need to modify it a little bit. So you can just type this all out if you don't want to download the file, but it'll just save you time if you just download it from the site using wget. So let's have a look in here. This is just a Python script which I wrote, which has a max backups configuration, and then it also grabs the current time because we're going to use that to name our backups. Alright, and then it just prints out that it's starting a backup, and then it sets the location of the backups, which is /backups. So we actually need to create a folder right now called backups. So make dir backups. So this is where the literal backups will be, and then I'm gonna remove -rf the my backup, just kind of clean up that. Be very careful when running this command because this will recursively delete a folder, so it'll delete everything inside that folder. So you just want to make sure you type in the right folder, otherwise you could really mess things up. Alright, so now it's all cleaned up. We have the backups folder, the keys folder, and that backup script. So I'm going to type in vi to edit that file once again. So vi backup .py. And if you're wondering how I get out of vi, I press escape and then shift ZZ. Alright, but I'm not really gonna explain a lot about vi right now, except for that when you're in vi, you can press I to enter insert mode, and then escape to exit insert mode. So that's like the most basic thing you need, and then you can also just use the arrow keys to move around. So what's going on here is that I'm going to make a system call to that package which we're using, firestore-backup-restore. So that's where it's located at. That's its install location. So we're going to make a backup, and the key is going to be, and then we need to paste in right here. We're going to need to copy that the name of that key. So I have it right here. I'm just going to copy it. But for you, it's probably going to be different. In fact, I know it's going to be different. So it's .json. So this is the name of that full key file inside of the keys directory. All right, so we're going to back up using that key, and then so that's also letting us know like what project it is as well, because that key points to the project. And then so this is all kind of the same thing as we did in the manual section, the manual backup, but now we're just doing it inside of a script. And then here at the end, in order to construct the name of the backup, I have the location of the backup and then now. So it's basically ./backups/ and then now formatted as an ISO string. So ISO is like a type of date formatting. So basically just the name of the folder is going to be a date time to be exact. And then once it does that backup, it's going to say finished backup, and then it's going to grab a list of all of the paths inside of the backups folder. Okay, which would be like all the backups, right? Because the backups are in their own folders within the backups folder. And then it's going to sort them, and then it's going to print out how many backups are filled. So, like the number of folders, and then the max backups, which is 5. So it might say like 1 out of 5, 0 out of 5, 5 out of 5. And then if we have more backups than max backups, then it's going to basically just delete the first one. Okay. All right. So this is my little Python script to perform the rolling backups, is what it's called. And in order to run it, I'm going to type in Python 3 and then backup.py. If you don't have Python 3, I'm not going to cover how to install it here. You can just Google that, but then once you do have Python 3, just run Python 3 space backup.py. And then it says it's starting the backup, and then it prints out that error stuff. Don't worry about that. It backs it up, and then it says 1 out of 5 backups filled. Alright. And by the way, if you got any errors, like when you try and run the backup.py file using Python 3 and it tells you that something isn't installed, just install it with like pip. So pip3 install, and then whatever it said was missing. So now we have a script that can run backups. So I'm going to ls backups, and you can see in there we have a folder which is the ISO timestamp. Alright, so I'm going to run another backup once again, and then we should see that there are 2 in there. Okay, so it's doing the next one. So now it says 2 out of 5. So if we want to do this automatically instead of manually running the script, we can have it automatically run using crontab. So crontab -e is the command on Linux. So if I type that in, then it'll bring me to an editor here. And basically, I've already kind of set this up a little bit. So I'm going to show you a little website which shows us crontab fairly well. Like, see these numbers at the beginning right here? These are like, this is configuring when the backups run automatically. So using this website right here, crontab.guru, you can just go in here and then kind of fiddle with when you want the backups to happen. So this one right here is at minute 5. So it's like every hour on the 5th minute, that's when this one would be. Whereas if I wanted it to be like every 5th minute, like every 5 minutes, literally every single 5-minute interval, then I would do this. So just for testing, I'm going to set it to be every minute. So I'm just going to copy that and then go over here and paste it in right there. Alright, and this will run once every minute, which of course you don't want to do it every minute, but I'm just going to test to see that it works like that. So that's like the fastest interval you can have. So this is going to change directory into that folder which I made, home/jamie/youtube/automatic firestore backups. Alright, so that's the first part, and then it's going to use Python 3 to run the backup script, and then output any logs to log.txt, and output any errors to error.txt. Alright, so if that's a little bit confusing, sorry, I'm just showing you exactly how I do the backups. There's a lot of foundational knowledge I have which allows me to do stuff like this. And yeah, I can't really possibly cover it all in this video, so if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and maybe I can do some supplemental videos on stuff like this. This is the first video I've done really on stuff like this using the Linux shell, which I use quite a bit in practice. So I'm just going to save that file, and if you were editing that file on your brand new system, it's probably edited in something called Nano, and they have different ways of exiting. The instructions are at the bottom of the editor. They would be like down here, I think. So just follow that. You just want to save the file, and then it should say installing new crontab. Alright, and if that's the case, then I should be able to ls the backups. We only have 2 backups right now. So if we ever see a 3rd backup in here, then we know that it's working. Oh, and by the way, I just typed in ls and then tilde, just to see if the errors were on the desktop. Because sometimes I type in the folder name incorrectly, and so it puts the error files on the desktop, or on the, in the home path. Tilde is home. So if that's the case, then you should be able to type in vi and then tilde/error.txt. And then it will give you an error like this. And then I'm going to press escape and then shift ZZ to exit this. So it says that it couldn't find the folder for backups, and that probably just means that I typed in the folder name wrong. So I'm going to type in crontab-e once again. So there we go. I think we forgot an S on the end, so that would definitely do it. So I'm going to save that and then remove the error file from the home page, or from the from my root folder, my home folder. And then I'm also going to remove the log file. Alright, so yeah, we just had an error there. Let's see if it starts making backups now. So ls backups. Alright, just gonna wait for it to generate a backup. Okay, so I typed in ls once again, and looks like the error is now in this folder. So that means that the CD worked properly. So now let's check out that error. So I'm gonna type vi and then error.txt. And then, that's just the standard error of your app may break. We don't need to worry about that. It's just talking about timestamps. Doesn't matter. So if we type ls backups, we should have a third backup. So there we go. We have a third backup. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to tail the log.txt and with -f. And what that's going to do is basically just log out all the logs, like follow the log file. So you can see here that it just did the 4 out of 5th backup. Alright, so I'm not touching the computer at all. It's just doing this on its own. So let's see if it does indeed wrap around. So the last backup was just barely. Alright, there goes the next one. Alright, so 5 out of 5 backups filled. Let's wait and see one more and make sure that it deletes the oldest one. So I'm going to quickly ls backups. And then, so we have these ones right here. We have 44, 45, 54, 55, and 56. Alright, so that we should no longer see 44 when it's done with the next backup. Alright, there we go. It says 6 out of 5 backups filled, full backups, deleting oldest, at index 0, and it deleted the 44. So now I'm going to ls backups once again, and then now the 44 one is gone. So we have a successful rolling backup system, fully automated. And the last thing I'm going to do is type in crontab -e and then show you what I would do if I actually wanted to do backups, like the actual interval I would use. I'm just going to go back to this site here and then put a 0 and then probably a 14. So this would be at 1400, and that means like 2 o'clock p.m. And so that would happen every day at 2 o'clock. That's what I would do. It's the middle of the day. It's a fine time for a backup. The servers are going to be nice and strong then. So I'm just going to copy this interval right here. And then paste it in right there, 014 star star star. Alright, and then once I save that, then that is when the backups will be performed for my database. So you'll have daily rolling backups at 2 o'clock p.m. Alright, but I don't really want to keep doing that. That's just a test project, so I'm going to comment it out using that syntax right there. And yeah, there we go, you guys. Now we have a fully automated rolling backup system with Firestore. The only caveat really is that sub-collections must have a document at a higher level always. So like it didn't back up items when there was no document here. So that was a caveat. If you guys like this video, be sure to leave a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate that. I know there were a lot of advanced topics covered in this video. So I'm going to just list off a bunch of things on future videos I could make just to see if you're interested. So one thing would be just using the Linux shell, like using the terminal. So that would be one idea. So let me know in the comments down below if you want to see that. Second would be using vi. So vi is like a way of editing files on a server. So that was the command you saw. I typed in vi space and then the name of the file, and I was able to edit the file like that. So vi error.txt. So here I can move around the cursor using HJK and L. And I can also like jump around words, and I can start inserting text and so forth. So I'm controlling the entire text editor with just the keyboard. So let me know if you want to see a video on vi below. I'm a heavy vi user, so like when I move around the cursor in my application, I'm using a vi plugin for VS Code. It helps me type a lot faster. Plus, there are also commands for jumping around words and deleting lines and pasting them other places as well. So let me know if you're interested in seeing a video on Vi as well. That's the second idea. Alright, the third idea I had in this video was just setting up your own Raspberry Pi server. So let me know if you want to see a video on that as well. Yeah, we'll just stick with those for now. Thanks for watching, you guys. Leave a comment down below what you'd like to see, what you thought of the video, any questions you have, and I'll see you guys in the next video.